Hi everyone. Today we will go to the city where the culture has 7 different nationalities, beautiful landmarks, great history, and much more. And this is Chernivtsi. Well, let's get started. First, the history of Bukovina and Chernivtsi from foundation to the present day, ancient times. The territory of modern Bukovina was being inhabited since ancient times. Archaeological finds testify to the existence of the Tripolian culture here, 4th millennium BC. In the following centuries, the lands were inhabited by Thracians, Dacians, and Sarmatians. In the 1st century AD, the territory of southern Bukovina was part of the Dacian kingdom, which was later conquered by the Roman Empire. The Romans left behind roads, fortifications, and developed trade, Middle Ages, and the first mention of Chernivtsi. In the 9th-10th centuries, the lands were part of Kievan Rus, and after its decline they came under the rule of the Galicia-Volyn Principality. It was then that the city of Chernivtsi arose, the first mention of this which dates back to the 1408. In the 14th century, Bukovina became part of the Moldavian Principality. During this time, the economic and cultural life of the region was formed, temples were built, and crafts developed. However, in 1540, the Moldavian Principality fell into vassal dependence on the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman rule 16th, 18th centuries. Under Ottoman rule, Bukovina remained part of the Moldavian Principality, but felt significant economic pressure. The Ottomans imposed heavy taxes, which forced the population to flee to remote areas of the Carpathians. In the 18th century, the situation changed. After long wars between the Ottoman Empire and the Habsburg monarchy in 1774, Austria occupied Bukovina. Austrian period 1774 to 1918. In 1775, Bukovina officially became part of the Habsburg monarchy, and from 1849 it received the status of a separate duchy. It was during this period that Chernivtsi became the cultural and administrative center of the region. The Austrians contributed to the development of the education, trade, and architecture. European quarters were built in the city, theaters and schools were opened. In 1875, the Chernivtsi University was founded here, which became a symbol of Bukovina's education. Various nationalities peacefully coexisted in Chernivtsi. Ukrainians, Germans, Romanians, Yevs, Poles. The city was even called Little Vienna because of its multicultural atmosphere and architectural similarity to the Austrian capital. World War I and a transition to Romania, 1918-1940. After World War I and the collapse of Austria-Hungary in 1918, Bukovina was occupied by Romanian troops. In 1919, the region officially became part of Romania. The Romanian authorities pursued a policy of Romanization, which caused discontent among the Ukrainian population. However, economic development continued. New roads were built and urban infrastructure was expanded. World War II and Soviet period 1940-1991. In 1940, according to the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, northern Bukovina and Chernivtsi were annexed by the Soviet Union. A year later, in 1941, German-Romanian troops reoccupied the region, which led to mass repressions, deportations, and Holocaust of the Jewish population. After the war in 1944, the Soviet Union regained control over Bukovina and it became part of the Ukrainian SSR. Sovietization began, private enterprises were closed, religious organizations were banned, and the intelligentsia was repressed. At the same time, the Soviet authorities industrialized the region, developed agriculture and the social sphere. Chernivtsi became an important educational and cultural center. Independent Ukraine, 1991, present. After the collapse of the USSR in 1991, Bukovina became part of the independent Ukraine. Chernivtsi remains the administrative center of the region, a city where unique architecture and cultural heritage have been preserved. Today, Bukovina is the region where different nations coexist peacefully, and Chernivtsi is a center of Ukrainian science, culture, and tourism. Chernivtsi landmarks. And now we move on to 5 Chernivtsi landmarks. Let's go! First, Yuri Fedkovich Chernivtsi National University, from foundation to the present day. Foundation of the university, 1875. Chernivtsi University was founded on October 4, 1875 by Emperor Franz Joseph I on the basis of the Theological Institute that had been operating since 1827. The founding of the university was an important event for all of Bukovina, as the region received its own educational center. At the beginning of its existence, the university had 3 faculties: philosophical, humanities, natural sciences, law, legal sciences, theology. Science Bukovina was then part of Austria-Hungary. The official language of instruction was German. However, the university had a multinational character, and students and teachers represented different ethnic groups: Ukrainians, Romanians, Germans, Yevs, and Poles. Austrian period, 1875-1918. Chernivtsi University quickly gained popularity among the youth of Bukovina and neighboring regions. It became one of the centers of scientific thought in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. During this period, famous scientists taught here, including the historian Raimund Friedrich Kind, the jurist Heinrich von Pirchner, and the linguist Stefan Wolf. However, Ukrainians did not have equal opportunities in education. Their access to higher education was limited, and the Ukrainian language was not used in the educational process. Romanian period, 1918-1940. After World War I, Bukovina became part of Romania, and Chernivtsi University received a new status. In 1920, it was renamed King Carl I University. The Romanian authorities completely changed the language policy. The teaching was conducted only in Romanians, and Ukrainian and German were displaced. This caused discontent among Ukrainians and Germans, who traditionally made up a significant proportion of students and teachers. Despite this, the university remained a leading scientific center in the region, where history, philology, law, and national sciences were studied. Svit period 1940-1991. In 1940, after the annexion of northern Bukovina to the USSR, the university was reorganized and renamed Chernivtsi State University. During this period, there were cardinal changes. Romanian teachers were replaced by Soviet specialists. Teaching in Ukrainian and Russian was introduced. The Faculty of Theology was closed. After World War II, the university continued its activity as part of the Ukrainian SSR. New faculties were opened, in particular physical and mathematical, biological and chemical. The university became an important center of science and education for the entire western region of Ukraine. Independent Ukraine, since 1991. After Ukraine gained independence, Chernivtsi State University received a new name, Yuri Fedkovich Chernivtsi National University, since 2000 year. The main changes of this period: first, a revival of Ukrainian traditions in the education and science. Two, opening of the Faculty of Theology, which received the historical tradition of the university. Third, is active international cooperation with European universities. And four, in 2011, the university complex was included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Today, Chernivtsi National University is one of the leading institutions of higher education in Ukraine. It has 12 faculties with more than 15,000 students, and leading Ukrainian and international scientists teach there. Next is Kobylyanska Street. Kobylyanska Street is one of the most famous and beautiful streets of Chernivtsi, often called Chernivtsi Arbat. It is a pedestrian zone and attracts residents and tourists with its historical architecture, old town atmosphere, and cultural significance. Foundation and early years. The history of the street begins in the 18th century, when Chernivtsi was part of the Austrian Empire. It was an ordinary city road connecting the central part of the city with other districts. Initially, the street was called Herrengasse, which means Manor Street in German. It got this name because the local elite settled here, rich merchants, officials, scientists, and cultural figures. Austrian and Romanian period during the time of Austria-Hungary, 1775 to 1918. The street turned into one of the main ones in the city. Luxurious mansions in the styles of Baroque, Art Nouveau, Classicism, and Secession were built here, which gave the street European charm. It became a place for walks and of the Chernivtsi nobility, and shops, cafes, restaurants, and hotels appeared on its territory. In 1980, after Bukovina became part of Romania, Herrengasse received a new name, Regina Elizabeth Street, in honor of the Romanian Queen Elizabeth. During this period, it remained the central street of the Chernivtsi, where Chernivtsi intellectuals continued to gather, naming in honor of Olga Kobylyanska. In 1940, when Bukovina became part of the Soviet Union, the street was named in honor of the outstanding Ukrainian writer Olga Kobylyanska, who lived and worked in Chernivtsi. This decision was symbolic, as Kobylyanska played an important role in the development of Ukrainian literature, and her work was connected with Bukovina. During the years of Soviet power, the street preserved its architectural value, although some historical buildings were rebuilt or their purpose was changed. Modern period. In the 1990s, Olga Kobylanska Street became a pedestrian zone, which made it even more attractive to tourists and locals. Today there are cafes, museums, shops, and the buildings themselves preserve the unique atmosphere of past centuries. Kobylanska Street is not only an architectural gem of Chernivtsi, but also a place where the spirit of the city's history and culture is preserved. Theatre Square of Chernivtsi, from foundation to the present day. Theatre Square is one of the most beautiful and famous squares of Chernivtsi, which impresses with its architecture, historical significance, and special atmosphere. It is the cultural heart of the city, because the famous Olga Kobylanska Chernivtsi Music and Drama Theatre is located here. Foundations and early years. The history of Theatre Square began in the middle of the 19th century, when Chernivtsi was part of the Austrian Empire. Until early, this place did not have a clear building. There were small buildings, a market, and driveways. The real development of the square began in 1905, when the city theatre was built in the center of the square according to the project of Austrian architects Ferdinand Fellner and Hermann Helmer. The architects designed the theatre in Vienna, Prague, Zagreb, and other European cities, so Chernivtsi received a real architecture masterpiece. Elegant building belonging to representatives of the local elite, officials, entrepreneurs, and artists began to be built around the theatre. The square quickly became the cultural and public center of the city. Period of Austria-Hungary and Romania, late 19th to middle 20th century. During the Austrian period, the square received its name, Elisabethplatz, in honor of Empress Elizabeth, the wife of the Austrian Emperor Franz Joseph I. In 1918, after Bukovina joined Romania, the square received a new name, Piazza Teatrului, which emphasized its connection with the main architectural dominant, the theatre. During this period, it remained one of the most important places in Chernivtsi, where public events, cultural events, and theatrical performances were held. Svit period, 1940-1991. In 1940, after Chernivtsi became part of the Soviet Union, the square was named Lenin Square, and the theatre itself was named after Kobylanska. During this period, the square underwent significant changes. The Soviet authorities installed ideological symbols here, as well as changed some architectural elements. Despite this, the theatre continued to function, and the square remained a place for city's events. Independent Ukraine, current state after Ukraine gained independence in 1991, the square was returned to its historical name, Theatre Square. In the 20 years, a large square reconstruction was carried out here. First, restored the facades of historical buildings. Two, restored green spaces, installed benches, lanterns, and fountains. Third, opened a monument to Olga Kobylanska in 1995 in front of the theatre. Today, the Theatre Square is one of the most beautiful in Chernivtsi. It attracts tourists, artists, students, and townspeople who walk around it, enjoy the architecture and the atmosphere of the old city. Cathedral of the Holy Spirit in Chernivtsi, from foundation to the present day. The Cathedral of the Holy Spirit is the main Orthodox Church of Chernivtsi and one of the greatest religious sites in Bukovina. Its history is inextricably linked with the religious life of the region and is part of the architectural heritage of the city. Foundation and construction. The idea of building a large Orthodox cathedral in Chernivtsi appeared in the first half of the 19th century. Until then, the main church of the city was a small wooden church. In 1844, when Bukovina was part of the Austrian Empire, the construction of a new cathedral began, which lasted almost 20 years. The temple project was developed by the Austrian architect Anton Roll, and its style combines neoclassicism with elements of the Renaissance and Baroque. The main construction work was completed in 1864, and its official consecration took place in 1869. The temple became the center of the Bukovina-Dalmatian metropolis, one of the most important Orthodox administration of that time. Architecture and interior decoration. The Cathedral of the Holy Spirit is distinguished by its monumentality and harmonious forms. Its height is 46 meters, which makes it one of the tallest churches in Chernivtsi. The building has two high bell towers, which give the cathedral a solemn appearance. The main dome rests on four powerful columns, and its shape resembles St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. The interior decoration of the temple impresses with its splendor. The iconostasis was made in the traditional Orthodox style using gilding and wood carving. The murals and frescoes of the temple are created according to the canons of Byzantine painting, period of Austria and Hungary and Romania, 1864–1940. During the period of Austria-Hungary, the cathedral was not only a religious, but also an administrative center of Orthodox believers in Bukovina. Important church services, episcopal ordinations, and solemn divine services were held here. In 1918, after Bukovina joined Romania, the cathedral remained the main Orthodox shrine of the region. It survived this period without significant changes and continued to be a place of pilgrimage and prayer for believers. Soviet period, 1914 to 1991. With the advent of Soviet power in 1940, many churches in Chernivtsi were closed or destroyed. However, the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit retained its function. It remained an active church, although it suffered losses in its decoration. During this period, the Soviet authorities banned many religious rites, and part of the church property was confiscated. Despite this, the temple continued to perform its religious functions and remained a center of Orthodox faith in Bukovina, independent Ukraine, current state. After Ukraine gained independence in 1991, the Cathedral of Holy Spirit began to receive. First, many historical elements of its decorations have been restored. Second, restoration work was carried out to preserve the architectural heritage. Third, the cathedral became the main church of the Chernivtsi Bukovina diocese of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. Today, the cathedral is not only the spiritual center of the city, but also one of its main tourist attractions. Divine services, festive liturgies, and events that unite believers and are held here regularly. And the last one, 5, Armenian Church in Chernivtsi, from foundation to the present day. The Armenian church in Chernivtsi is one of the most interesting and beautiful architectural monuments of the city. It's not just a church, but a real cultural symbol that combines the Gothic style with elements of Armenian architecture. Its history begins in the 19th century when the Armenian community of Bukovina decided to build its own religious center. Foundations and construction. 1870s. In the middle of the 19th century, there was a large Armenian community in Chernivtsi, which had its own traditions and needed a place for worship. That is why the construction of the Armenian church began in 1873. The temple project was developed by the famous church architect Joseph Glavka, who is also the author of the famous complex of Chernivtsi University. The architect took the traditional style of the Armenian churches as a basis but added elements of the neo-Gothic to it, which made the building unique for Bukovina. The construction was completed in the 1875, and the Armenian church became a real architectural masterpiece. Architecture features. The Armenian church has a unique style that combines several architectural trends. Pointed arches and high windows are classic features of neo-Gothic. The red bricks from which the temple is built gives a warm and majestic look. A high step spire rises above the central part of the building, reminiscent of medieval European cathedrals. The interior contains frescoes, mosaics, and decorative elements made in Byzantine and Armenian styles. The cathedral had excellent acoustics, thanks to which it was often used not only for worship but also for music performances. Armenian church in 20th century, Austro-Hungarian and Romanian period, 1875-1940. After the completion of construction, the church became the spiritual center of the Armenian community of Chernivtsi. Services, religious holidays, and other important events were held here. In 1918, when Bukovina became part of Romania, the status of the temple did not change. However, the Armenian community gradually decreased, and the number of parishioners decreased. Svit period, 1914 to 1991. In 1914, after annexation of Bukovina to the USSR, many churches were closed or used for other purposes. The Armenian church was no exception. It was closed, and later various administrative institutions were placed in the building. During World War II, the building was not significantly damaged, but after the war its condition deteriorated due to the lack of restoration work. In the 1916s, a house of organ and chamber music was opened in the temple, which allowed in the building to be safe from destruction. Modern state. After Ukraine gained independence in 1991, the Armenian church remained in the use of musical institutions. It became not only an architectural landmark, but also center of cultural life in the Chernivtsi. Now, concerts of organ music, chamber performances, and other art events are held here regularly. The church still remains a symbol of the multicultural past of Chernivtsi, as it is one of the few Armenian churches in Ukraine. Culture of Chernivtsi and Bukovina. From ancient times to the present day, Chernivtsi and Bukovina are a region where different cultures, peoples, and traditions have met and interacted for centuries. Thanks to its favorable location, the city has become a crossroads of Western and Eastern civilization, which has significantly influenced its culture. Cultural diversity. Bukovina has always been a place where different cultures meet. This influences its art, architecture, music, and traditions. Ukrainian, Romanians, Yevs, German, Poles, and all other nations peacefully coexisted in Chernivtsi. It's created a unique atmosphere of the multiculturalism. Architecture. The architecture of Chernivtsi reflects different historical periods. In the city you can see buildings in the styles of Baroque, Classicism, Art Nouveau, and Secession. It is especially worth noting Chernivtsi National University, which is an architectural gem and is included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Olga Kobylanska Street, Theatre Square, the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit, and Armenian Church are excellent examples of the city's architectural heritage, literature, and art. Bukovina gave the world many outstanding writers, artists, and musicians. Olga Kobylanska, Yuri Fedkovich, Sergei Vorobkevich are just some of names that made a significant contribution to Ukrainian culture. There are theaters, museums, galleries in Chernivtsi, where you can get acquainted with the works of local artists, traditions, and customs. Bukovina is rich folk tradition and customs. Ancient writers, songs, dances, and crafts have been preserved here. Malanka is one of the most famous Bukovinian traditions, which combines elements of pagan and Christian beliefs. Traditional Bukovinian costumes, embroidery, carpet weaving, and Easter egg painting are important elements of cultural heritage. Modern culture. Today, Chernivtsi is a modern city where culture is actively developing. Festivals, concerts, exhibitions, and other cultural events are held here. The city is an important education and cultural center of Ukraine. I hope this information helped you better understand the culture of Chernivtsi and Bukovina. Modern cultural economy. Chernivtsi is developing as a tourist center. Restored squares, streets, and landmarks attract visitors from all over Ukraine and Europe. Main tourist attractions: residents of Bukovina and Dalmatia metropolitans, UNESCO, Olga Kobylanska pedestrian street construction. Chernivtsi is not just a city, but a place where history, culture, and human destinies intertwine. Here, at the crossroads of different traditions and languages, a unique spirit of the unity and mutual understanding is preserved. In a world striving for division, Chernivtsi reminds us that true strength lies in diversity. This is a city that, despite all the challenges of time, always finds a way to harmony, and perhaps it is this harmony that will unite us in a world without borders. I live in Chernivtsi, and I can say this is the most beautiful city in Ukraine and world. I love Chernivtsi. Thanks for watching. Subscribe on channels. Leave the comment which country or city you want to see in next video. Have a nice night. Good night. Glory to Ukraine.